Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, only 3 minutes late. That's better than all my game sessions. So, okay, welcome whoever's listening or watching. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk a bit about narrative, co-op campaign creation, and then depending upon how much time we have, we'll also get into some specifics of Fate character creation. And Ian was suggesting that one of the things we need to kind of focus on is aspects. So we'll try to make sure that we do that as well. And I don't know why my camera's out of focus, but uh, so
It's
anyway,
surrealism.
yeah, right, yeah. Nobody wants to see my ugly mug anyway. So anyway, we'll get started just as if we're doing. Well, we are going to be doing it real time for you guys. Um, so first of all, I guess the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what type of genre we want to pursue in this campaign or story arc, or even if it was a one shot that we were going to do. I guess it would make sense more for a campaign, though. Um, so what I would do if I'm the GM, I'll pretend to be the GM for this session. So I'll say, okay, guys, what genre interests you? What do you guys want to dive into?
Post-apocalyptic.
Okay.
Post-apocalyptic's cool. Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking something sci-fi.
Okay. Well, how sci-fi? Maybe we can still throw something in there.
Well, like post-apocalyptic sci-fi works for me. If you think
Hmm.
about, we were talking before about Eclipse Phase, that's kind of a post-apocalyptic
Actually,
science
it
fiction
is.
kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it is. Yep, very much
uh,
so.
probably for the purpose of this, maybe something planet side. What do you think?
Okay, we can narrow it down to
Not
being
not not like a space
Space
opera per
opera.
se,
right.
but more
Okay.
like
I like that.
Okay. Hey, there's David, BBJ.
Hey guys.
All right, man. Welcome.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. You got good timing. We just started. Um, what we're doing is kind of similar to what we did for my 5e campaign. We're just going to kind of give the folks an example of kind of a cooperative campaign development session.
Okay.
And then we're going to actually touch upon character creation, dealing with fate, which is kind of good because I'm sure you'll find that interesting. And then we'll just kind of touch upon, any other things you guys maybe want to holler about. And we're going to try to keep it to like maybe an hour or so, not too long. I don't want to take up you guys' whole weekend. So we just pretty much started. The guys have it narrowed down to a post-apocalyptic slash sci-fi genre. Um, and they narrowed it down a little bit to being something that we're going to limit to being planet side. Okay, so it's just going to be on one planet instead of being, a what do we say, a
Space
space
yeah, it's
opera.
a
opera
big
or
space opera. Yeah,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
for post-apocalypse, it kind of makes sense. Maybe you're stranded on whatever planet you're
on
on
one
at the
planet.
time.
Yeah.
Did
So
you,
we've
did
got
you
it.
guys ever play Mass Effect?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You remember the end of Mass Effect? Like all the relays are blown, everybody's just kind of trapped wherever they are, right?
Yep.
Ah, yeah, right, yeah. The gates have closed or whatever, or shut
Something
down.
kind of like that.
Yeah. So they're
Eventually, they're
stranded.
going to run out of fuel. They're going to have issues with food. I mean,
Hmm. Okay. So in response to you guys saying you want to narrow it down a little bit to planet side, um, so let me ask you this: do you want to narrow it even further to being in one specific place, or do you guys want to have access to different areas of the planet?
I like different areas
You
because
like
that way you can kind of vary what it is that you're doing. You could have basically one type of adventure in one location, and then if you
yeah.
wanted a drastic change but still rooted in the same area, you can just send us or send the players to another location.
okay?
I also would like to have some either magic slash psionics type of deal, some kind of something odd, something special, and it may not be something that we would have access to. It might be something that's kind of unknown and kind of like a GM driver or something like that. What do you guys think about that?
I really like that idea. It gives an opportunity to just as maybe the environment is something to explore, it's also something internal to explore.
Okay.
Where the players have a gift, or it could be could be viewed as a curse as well, where each of the players has something that they can discover about themselves, and if various game masters take over the game, they can explore those different elements. So I like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
See
that sounds really cool.
So now
So
So
is
now
that something that's just kind of popped up since the apocalypse, as it were? Something that maybe didn't exist before, but
maybe if I
maybe
can suggest something, maybe that had something to do with the actual apocalypse.
well
Maybe
maybe
maybe everyone who was I'll just say infected, just to use that word, with this force or power or whatever it is, we haven't decided. Maybe everyone couldn't handle it, and some people expired because of it.
or maybe the apocalypse also was brought about by aliens because we know that they're all bad. So they're bringing their vile magics or sciences or radiations with them. They may have been mating with genetic experiments. I mean, it could be just about anything.
Okay, so we have bad aliens. I'll just put that to the side there.
We could
That's
be
cool.
rebuilding after some type of war in which we may have lost a lot of our resources of our planet, or we may be forgotten, or we could be garrisoned by the aliens, and they could be a antagonist throughout the story.
what if all of this stuff kind of came about as military type experiments in order to kind of counterbalance the feared coming alien invasion? Do you guys remember Akira?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Oh wow.
That was Neo Tokyo, the military experiment, with all the crazy. I'd say those are psionic powers,
Mhm.
Super. Absolutely. So the mankind being our own worst enemy, and
Mhm.
fear mongering, we
Hmm.
try to make ourselves into better soldiers to fight against the aliens, and stuff went wrong.
Okay.
Tore our own
So
world apart.
so okay, so stuff going wrong. Still, I think we still need to kind of clarify that. So Um,
Well, they
yeah,
couldn't handle it.
we have the aliens, okay, who started a war with us. Obviously, well, the implication is that the world is, losing the war. So these military experiments started up in order to empower, basically to make almost like super soldiers or whatever. And then something went wrong with that. But where do we go from that to the apocalypse? You know?
Well, they would have caused the
Or the
apocalypse.
war's already okay. Is the war the apocalypse that we're talking about, so to speak, or what? Or the after effects of the war?
I would say it would be the after effects of
Okay.
the war.
Okay.
Um, Maybe this whatever I'm going to call it infection, but it could be
Yeah.
like a super soldier
Yeah.
program or something.
Hmm.
Maybe it was like a Hail Mary, so that you know part of the population part of the population despises what
Hmm.
humanity did, and then another portion is like, hey, we need to continue this in order to preserve what we have.
What if
Okay.
we call it an awakening?
There you
Maybe
go.
these were powers that were actually within us all along, but the military just found ways to tap into that, and then,
Nice.
like an infection, it spread.
So would the characters be awakened?
Why wouldn't it be?
It could be,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, would that be and this is kind of jumping the gun, but would the characters would that be their glue to hold the characters together, that they're a
Well,
group of awakened people?
well, let me ask you this: what would interest you guys more, to play some of the awakened, or to play some quote unquote normals who perhaps maybe run into these awakened who the general populace is afraid of, possibly, or that's kind of, taking a different road, so to speak, but
I think
maybe
that
these awakened are hated.
that kind of creates some interesting ideas. If the characters, I don't see. I've never played Fate before, so I don't know how characters develop over time. But if the characters start off as kind of normal people,
Hmm.
and maybe, for whatever reason, come across these awakened. Maybe we're seeking them out. Maybe we're trying to shut them
Capture.
down or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, potential story down the road is you kind of find out, oh, wait a minute, these guys aren't so bad after all. They're just kind of misunderstood.
That's possible.
They're victims.
That's
They're
possible.
actually victims, right?
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was going to say this might turn the story instead of black and white. It could be gray. Maybe this alien race, from our point of view, they're heinous, they're apocalyptic, they want to wipe us out. But maybe this awakening is something they've seen before, and in their eyes, they're to wipe it out. They need to stop it because of the danger of it spreading, because they've seen it before, or maybe they've seen it among their own population.
What if the aliens were actually our own species advanced further in time, and they were coming back to try
Slow down. That's good. That's good. I like that.
There was a television show with 4400. It kind of took that position where humans were being abducted, and then all 4,400 human beings abducted over the last century were returned, and you come to find out that the abductions by aliens were actually human beings. They're far advanced from us ourselves, and it was. But I like that idea though, where.
So say that again.
They may not necessarily be aliens. They're just the advanced versions of the awakened that exist.
Wow. Okay. This is good. We're going to have to play this, right, guys?
And they may have advanced so far that they're
not recognizable. Yeah, that's good. Like the Greys, the Greys could be.
Well, they could have, the big humongous head and the tiny little body, but they're in some kind of mech armor, that's in a weird shape, not a humanoid shape.
Okay. See, this is good. That's why I like doing it this way. Look at these ideas. This is great stuff. Now let me stop for one moment and just address something, or just make note of it, just so because it's something that I've heard while doing this. I've heard that some players don't like this process because they feel as though there's nothing. They know too much. There's nothing left to surprise them about. There's no mystery. What do you guys think about that? Just in this little bit that we've done so far.
Well, I do understand the idea of having too much information, but I think when you do something collaborative, the fact that the other people involved in it can add something to the story that I may not know, and maybe another, I don't know what you want to call, like a strange step would be that the game master can receive information from the players that the other players don't know. I mean that complicates the situation, but you could have someone, each player could say give a special secret, one unique thing that nobody else knows, that affects everyone else but no one else knows.
Well, remember that even when you go to a movie, you know what the plot is, but you still want to watch the movie.
And if you watch the trailer, you've already seen all the best scenes anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though I go see Star Wars and I know that Luke is ultimately going to defeat Vader and he's going to be redeemed and he's going to save the woman or whatnot, that's going to happen. So having a lot of what the storyline is in the open, I don't think is a disadvantage, because the game master now has the ammunition that all of the players have come up with, and the game master can integrate that into the telling of a story. It's not exposing exactly what's going to happen. It's just kind of giving background touch points that we all agree on and say, hey, this might be a pretty good story.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I would say to add to this specific topic, my experience running games, because I've been a game master for 30 years now in various systems, and they're always evolving. So even as a game master in a game like Dungeons and Dragons, which is what I grew up on, what I played the most out of everything, I think I know what's going on. I think I know what everything's about. But a lot of times, halfway through the campaign, I realize, man, everything's been turned on its head and things change. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of that has happened to me in my experience because of things that my players added to the game anyway.
Hmm.
So I like the whole collaborative approach. And just because we're setting up a backdrop for the game now doesn't mean that everything is as it seems to be either. So.
Right. Okay.
And then, wait, one last thing. Since the players are involved in this collaborative process, they have skin in the game. They have some ownership of what's going on, so they feel closer to the actual finished product, or they feel more invested in having a good time than they would if you pulled out a module, David, and just started running us through.
I hope so. That's my thought. Because the GM is already invested in it. I would hope. So the fact that the players get a chance. I mean, when I first did this, and as a player even, and it's almost like a feeling of, no, I don't want to say empowerment, but I mean, it is. The players actually have some say-so in what's going to happen, and that was a good feeling. So I like it. So okay. So we've got the fact that the aliens actually the awakening may have been a bad thing. That's a hint that we have. We aren't sure yet, but at least that's from the aliens' perspective. And we also believe that the aliens are actually an advanced form of humans. Okay. We won't, we don't know any other details about that yet, but that's good enough. That's plenty right there. What else? I've got it that some factions of the world embrace the the old ways, or the old guard, the old governments, while others despise it for what it's done to the earth and done to the people of the earth. The world in general is still in the recent after effects of the war, so I would assume that there still are like pockets of technology and humanity and so on and so forth out there, but in between those pockets is what?
I would also like to have the moon broken, like in that. What movie was that? Where the moon?
All of them.
No,
Thundar.
well, Thundar, but I think it was a Tom Cruise movie where the moon was kind of.
Was that last movie?
Oblivion? Was it Oblivion?
I didn't see it. Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
it yet.
I just like that the picture of that
Okay.
is awesome in my mind, where the moon is kind of like shattered and you can see chunks of it kind of flowing out from the central orb.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
One idea.
For some reason, I remember that from The Time Machine with, I guess it was Guy Pearce or something. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know that movie. Yeah. Could have been.
What if, now this is just an idea, not to step on your idea, James, but what if the moon, instead of being broken or whatever from the war, what if the moon is now fully colonized and populated by these aliens?
Okay.
Where they basically oversee now what's going on Earth and whether or not they need to continue to get involved. They're kind of watching us from our own moon.
Can we get to them?
If the moon, the moon is so close, you could see it so clearly on a full moon day. Can you imagine, like, if there were these massive cities built on it, you'd be able to see them from the surface of the Earth.
Wow.
That would create kind of an interesting visual as well.
And they're watching over us, watching our every move.
Well, I mean, maybe that we don't necessarily know, but yeah, that might be what they're doing. Maybe they're watching us.
Well, and maybe in the vein of the campaign, our mission is to try to get to the moon to blow them up.
That would be awesome.
Maybe we developed a weapon, humanity, and we're trying to get this weapon and figure out a way. We need a ship to get us to the moon so that we can put this into this special location on the moon and blow the aliens back to wherever they came from.
Okay.
Interesting idea.
That's definitely like a Hail Mary kind of thing.
And that's a story arc right there.
Right, end of the story.
Yeah, yeah. That's,
But that
and
would
also,
be the culmination of the entire story. So,
Right.
if you're doing this as a 4-pack or a 6-pack, adventure arc, you would expect that, everything that you do would lead up to, all right, we need to figure out how to develop this weapon. We're fighting these people. We're doing this. We're trying to gather allies. Hey, there's a super scientist who, he's touched and he's awakened, so you may not be able to convince him to show you where the weapon is or create the weapon. But if you do, now you have a weapon. Now we need a pilot and a vehicle to get us to the moon or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's boiled down. It's somehow get a hold of, either develop or create or find the bomb, so to speak, which could mean multiple things, and then you have to find a way to actually get there. So how you guys do that, that could be, there you go.
In a souped-up '54 Chevy.
And then when you create your characters, you know that, well, we're going to have a fighting guy. Now we have a scientist who might be a weapon engineer.
They need a pilot.
They need a pilot.
Yeah.
And then that person, they actually have a reason for having
Right.
their skills.
All right. Well, let me jump back again, because I don't think, because I didn't have it written down here yet, I don't think you guys decided, or we decided, if you guys were going to be quote-unquote normal humans or not. What do you guys think about that? Would you rather want the Awakened to be so far out there that, they're almost alien in themselves? Let me throw this at you. Would you guys be interested in starting off as normal humans and then possibly becoming awakened?
Yeah, that's what I had said, kind of.
That's what you want? Okay.
Idea.
Is that okay? We're good.
Personally, just me personally, I don't necessarily like the idea of starting off as a super powerful person. Do you know what I mean?
Well, okay.
It kind of takes some of the danger.
Well,
unless you're a traitor of some sort. I mean, you could be on the team. In a lot of movies, when they have the team, they'll have one person who may be an alien or from the other side or whatever faction.
Yeah, sure.
And you don't know why they're doing what they're doing, why
That's
they're
true.
treasonous against their people. But, I mean, it would be possible. So if someone said, hey, I want to play like a hybrid alien and human, or I want to play an awakened human.
Well, let me throw this out there too. Just because you're awakened, and we haven't really said what that means, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're super strong or super fast or whatever. It could possibly mean that what you guys touched upon before, that you have some kind of other abilities. It may mean that you can access and utilize alien technology, whereas
Right.
people can't. So it doesn't have to mean that you're a super person. It could be other cool things. So just so you realize that, because it's not, and even in the context of the Fate game itself, usually, even though you may be special, so to speak, you're still on par with the other characters that you are interacting with. Okay. So I just
what if we're awakened and we don't realize it yet?
Whatever. I'm good with that. Whatever
What,
you guys
what if we're awakened and don't realize it, and we're tied
just think
together
we're
through
really-
our awakening?
We just think we're really talented at what we do, but it actually has to do with the fact that we have these awakened
They're latent.
mental capabilities that we haven't completely unlocked yet. They're just starting to kind of trickle through. Like I was originally thinking when we created this idea for the post-apocalyptic sci-fi planetary thing.
Mhm.
My first character concept was I was thinking it'd be kind of like a little tech junkie, like a
Mhm.
what's the word I'm looking for? A jerry rigger, I mean, a guy who just can take all kinds of technology, make it work, fix it up. He has a lot of knowledge from technical manuals or whatever else that he's got.
Right.
But maybe he's actually got this going on inside of his head
Mhm.
that's actually, accelerating his.
That's why he's so good at doing that.
And he just thinks, oh, it's all these technical manuals that I've read, and
Right.
all these programming books and stuff I've read from the previous era.
Okay.
But
Are they coming for us?
I don't know. Well, first of all, so we're agreed upon that you guys are gonna have latent, or not latent, but covert awakened. You're covert awakened. Can I call it that? Is that? Do you guys understand when I say is that, or is there a better word for that? Meaning you still look human. You're still, you can still interact with humanity.
Well, it's not latent. It's
Well,
out.
like I said, what will be a good description of that? Just awakened. I should say you're awakened.
Non-obvious. I mean,
well, what I was thinking, and you guys tell me about.
Like I don't have two heads because.
Well, what I was thinking is that, maybe. Well, initially we were saying about how the awakened were kind of like outcasts of sorts, Is that because people? Is that because of them utilizing their abilities in obvious ways, or is that because they can be spotted and seen? Is it physical as well? I guess that's what I'm getting at.
I think. I guess we could make some kind of physical mutation associated with it as well, but in my mind, my imagination, like again, I was kind of going back to Akira with this whole awakened thing.
Okay.
It would probably at least, unless they're in an extremely heightened state, they look as human as anyone else.
Okay.
But the reason that they are feared, I guess, is the best term for it, I think is just because they're seen as being extremely dangerous.
Okay.
So the more mutated you are, or the more awakened you are, the more you're physically recognizable as being awakened.
Yeah, we'll just say that the further you go, it starts to change you physically as well.
Okay.
Because
you're changing yourself physically to improve yourself, as it were, or
could be, yeah.
Make yourself bigger, make yourself stronger, make yourself faster.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Make yourself more imposing, whatever, depending on each individual's own personal psychological issues.
Yeah, right. That's good. So maybe their psychological state has a physical representation. Whatever that means. But it sounds good.
It makes sense to me.
Okay. All right.
Do you think there would be factions that would be centered around a particular awakened type? Meaning, like, I don't know, like there would be, I don't know, a faction of shape changers or a faction of telepaths, or I'm being very general, but
are they awakened that common? So are you saying that there's lots of them around?
Right. Well, and that would be the next question. Would they be common, or would they almost be like cult leaders, like people following?
Yeah.
There you go. That's interesting too.
Exactly. Like because of their positions of power, as it were, their state of power, they would attract followers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a Mad Max guy who's out in the desert lands because he's a 8 foot tall brute, and he's awakened and has super strength. He's managed to get a bunch of raiders around him, and he's able to use that to elevate himself.
Just like I can't think of the movie. Wow, it was the anime.
Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
And I still have your DVD of that, by the way.
You're welcome. Sharing is caring, man. Well, is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great idea.
Okay,
I mean,
so certain awakened have flocks, followings and flocks amongst them in different areas, abusing or possibly not abusing their power. But yeah, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, because whatever else the awakened are, I mean, they were human as well, so they're prone to all the flaws and that human beings have. So some would probably set themselves up as pariahs or as prophets or
Good.
I mean, and if you are, it's not really taking advantage because, like example, your character that was going to be a techie, he thought that he's smart, and he is smart, from reading technical manuals and things like that. But he also has an advantage, just the same way as an NBA basketball player, because he's 7 foot tall. He has an advantage, or this guy who does UFC fighting, because he's 7 foot tall, 400 pounds. Well, he has an advantage because he's huge and strong.
But that still doesn't make you a good leader, though. So that's the problem.
But you look and see that some people are very charismatic, some people are very. I mean, you could even go to like a D&D stat block and say, you got strength. If people who are super strong, people super intelligent, super wise, super perceptive, super fast,
Mm-hmm.
right? All super tough, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Things that could be a mutation or an awakening.
But we have stated that the public in general, to the public in general, that awakened are something to be fearful of. So that we've stated. So is that true, or now we retracting that?
But we could say that's the general civilized perception.
Okay.
But in between the cities, which I imagine. In my mind, I imagine cities would have some kind of organized government. So you said people clinging to the old ways.
Mm-hmm.
But in between those places, you're going to have wastelands and big open areas. You know what I mean? And there would be tribes of these different, maybe less technologically advanced, because they don't stay in the cities and everything. But
right.
They might cling even more so to the awakened because of that fact.
Okay.
Because they fear. The people who do continue to live in the cities and continue to carry on the old ways, which obviously didn't work anyway.
That's a good point. Okay.
Or they may need them for protection.
Well, it's just something I was asking, but I mean, as with anything, a good game master would have you guys encounter a Awaken that was a maniac, or an Awaken that generally cared about his flock, just to keep you guys on your toes and keep it interesting, so that you guys can generalize and say, hey, just like with the orc thing, there's an orc, kill it. It's bad, because it's an orc, and it's like, okay.
He's just sitting there having a sandwich.
Right. Right. So,
maybe it's his birthday.
Right. Exactly. And that's.
Was that one of your games? There was an orc birthday party or something.
Not one of my games.
I remember seeing that somewhere. One of the groups. Yeah.
I'm not that good.
They attacked an orc birthday party or bar mitzvah or something. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But yeah, like as far as the big question, I think that you're asking is, do the Awakened all turn bad in the end? Do they always go insane? Are they always a threat?
Right.
I think we could leave that a little bit ambiguous, couldn't we? Like,
that's good. Yeah.
Maybe they do. Maybe they don't.
Okay. All right.
I don't think anything's absolute.
Right. Okay. Only unless if you guys want it. That's what we're talking about. This stuff.
There could be like a second. I don't want to get too metaphysical about it, but it could be like a second level story where the players and the awakened, you find out that when they ascend to like maybe a different form or something, that their perceptions and their motivations change. So on the surface you have like humanity's trying to survive, and then you have these overlords that are above us, and you can see them at night, and then over time, as the mutations start changing people and things, you find out there's a reason why maybe some of humanity is supporting the aliens, and then you could almost like, hey, we're ready to take the bomb to the moon. We're on our mission to get there. We get there. We get ready to detonate it, and then find out that there's something else. Like, hey, this is all a test, or this was your method to, your path to ascend. We're just testing humanity's subconscious needs, and you're the end result of that subconscious need or something. So, a lot of animes ended that way.
The Earth is kind of like an ant farm almost.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you've crawled out, so here's your way to ascend to transcend to another level of society or being or something. So.
Yeah, right on.
Okay. A great
Although
experiment.
it would be funny to find out that yes, we can transcend to another form, and everyone's like, "Nah, we're just going to kill you anyway."
Okay.
Yeah, just blow the moon anyhow. Go back to the way it used to be.
Right. Yes.
That would be a very human thing to do, wouldn't
It
it?
would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
'Cause it's comfort, and familiarity. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. What tech level are we going to try to stay near, or is not the sky the limit? But I mean, do you guys care? You know.
See, that was my question because this had me thinking of like Appleseed. Like I've read the graphic novels and seen the movies and things, and
Mhm.
and I was thinking, not that it has to be, but I was thinking on that level. They've got like automatic weapons, and there's some cybernetics, and there's some like full cyborgs and
Okay.
power armor and things of that nature. But it could be all the way down to Mad Max, where it's like you're stapling trash together.
Okay.
And that would depend on the location, right?
Okay. But
You know,
the
it is-
higher. Okay. So then, would it be fair for the aliens to have maybe the next little smidgen of tech above that, possibly, or is it just that it's different tech?
I would think that the aliens tech is just that alien tech,
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's outside of what we
Okay.
have.
It's just different. Okay. Okay.
I mean, they're able to travel to our planet and
Yeah.
colonize our moon, which we haven't been able to do yet. So, I mean, they would be in some way different or more advanced, I would think. Maybe not more advanced, but like you said, maybe just different. They advance in
Okay.
different ways.
Okay. All right.
Whereas we as human beings maybe advance more towards, war efforts and more creative ways to blow shit up. Maybe they were busy focusing on, traveling across the stars and colonizing moons and terraforming and things of that sort.
Those bad humans.
Weren't they surprised when they got here?
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's very doable, and that's good because that way the technology is something that we'll be able to visualize for sure. It's nothing so far out that we'll have a problem describing or visualizing stuff. And then if the alien tech is so alien, us having trouble or have to really think about visualizing it will be a good thing.
Yeah, we can be creative in the
Yeah.
game.
Yep. Okay. All right. Do we know what these aliens look like?
No,
Or maybe we should keep that a secret.
no one's ever seen them
Okay.
outside of their armor.
James said, yeah, they all wear power armor, right? So
Okay. That's good. So that means you guys would have to make a horror roll, save or die. If you ever see one. Okay, that's good.
There could be an element of that though. Maybe there are people who have
Oh.
seen their inner sanctum and
Mhm.
cannot and come back from it and can't describe what it is.
Mhm.
Well, some of the awakened people who are telepaths might be catching glimpses of the aliens and going insane.
extrasensory perception.
Yeah, add a little horror element to it. Like, do we really want to? You take an alien power armor down, and you're like, do we really want to open this up?
Yeah.
And
So-
please don't make them Cthulhuoids.
Yeah, I was
we'll do
gonna
something
say.
else.
That would be the obvious.
Yeah, we'll do something else. So it's the nickname for the alien power armor is gonna have something to do with like Pandora. I don't know. That name that's stuck in my head. So, because if you open it up, bad things happen.
So
Right,
they're
yeah.
so they're pandas.
No, I can think of something cooler than that.
Maybe we just call them boxes.
Boxes. There you go. That's I guess pandas for slang. Okay, that's fine. Boxes and pandas. That's fine. Sorry, Jim. Didn't want to shoot you down.
Very
It's real
good.
slangy. I could hear that. Sorry, Jim.
Well, apologize to me. I've been a grown man for a long time, baby.
Relax. Okay, let's see. We may be okay. Let me ask maybe one or two other questions, and we may be ready for character creation. Actually, unless you guys have anything else you want to add Um,
I just say I remember I pulled up before we started the chat. I pulled up this.
oh yeah, yeah, we can go through that. Yeah.
I found the Fate Core System game creation worksheet, but it is not form fillable, so I can't
That's
fill it out, unfortunately.
Okay, that's okay. We could
So
we
you're
could
just
run
taking
down
the
it.
notes on paper or something anyway, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'm just scribbling down. But we can go through that just to see if there's anything else that might
All right, well, I'll
come to
pull
mind.
it up real quick. It's just blank because, like I said, I can't fill it out for some reason. But
Okay, I'm
just so
gonna
you can
click
look
on
at it, see
your.
if there's-
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I have screen share now, so I'll pull it up there. There's the game creation worksheet.
Okay, so everybody can see it now if they're watching. Okay, let me make the screen larger so I can see. Okay,
Yeah.
so can we call? What do you guys think about the game? The game name, the Awakening, the Awakened. What do you guys think? Too corny?
Or about Pandora.
Pandora.
Pandora, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, now I'm okay. I was seeing that.
Sorry, I had to double check the score of the game. Can't watch it over here, but at least I can keep track of the score. So anyway, so yeah, we got our setting.
2014.
Yeah. Setting and scale. So we've got that's our post-apocalyptic.
Well,
planet
scale is whether it's going to be epic or more personal.
Okay.
What do you guys think? See, this is good. It's good that we're doing this. Yeah.
I'm going to take a page out of David Sims when
Oh God.
when I was doing my campaign creation, and he said, "Well, why can't it be both?"
Did I say that really?
What does it mean? Epic mean? Why can't I have a personal scale that's also epic? Why can't I have an epic scale that's also personal? I think it should be in the middle. And then I just kind of shook my head and said, "Oy vey."
Well, what I meant by that, I think, was that the story itself or the campaign itself is of an epic scale,
Yes.
but each character has a personal stake in it. So why can't you touch upon both? Why do you have to say? And it could be that I'm just interpreting what they're asking wrong.
Yeah,
But
I think what they're asking is the scale of your story
mhm.
epic? Are you saving the universe? Are you saving the world? Are you saving time and space?
Mhm.
Or is it personal? I'm saving my mother-in-law. I'm saving, my daughter, or I'm saving my friend from the local Yakuza neighborhood guy.
Okay, well let me read this too real quick, and this is a quote out of the core book.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it too.
Okay, it says, decide how epic or personal your story will be. The setting might be small or it might be vast, but where your stories take place determines the scale of your game. In a small-scale game, characters deal with problems in a city or region. They don't travel a great deal, and the problems are local. A large-scale game involves dealing with problems that affect a world, a civilization, or even a galaxy. So by what we've already talked about, I think your story is going to be
I think
epic,
we're
right?
talking about a large-scale game.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's epic. Okay.
I don't even think you have to really use the word epic or personal, do you?
I don't know.
Did I just use small-scale, large-scale?
Or you're planetary.
Yeah, we're planetary. But we're dealing with something that's going to affect everyone on the world,
Yeah,
basically.
and
So
you're
that's
talking
pretty
about
epic.
possibly taking us to the moon at some stage. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was easy. Okay. So now issues. Okay. So we have current issues. I know what the impending issue is. We already talked about that, but we'll go over that. But what current issues are there? Well, that's kind of. Let me back up a little bit for a second. That's kind of one of the questions that I also wanted to ask you guys. Did you guys want to initially have your characters be in one of the pockets of civilization, so to speak, old school civilization or old era civilization, or did you want to be in one of the wilds, in one of the outlying areas of rampant, strongest survives and all that kind of stuff?
I've always liked the Motley Crue idea, where you've got like I don't know, you could have an exiled politician from the old guard along with your your Road Warrior or something, Mad Max driving in a car or something like that. Like I've always liked Motley Crue ideas, just because it allows greater opportunities for like the kind of characters you can create,
Okay.
and then you can kind of have the internal conflict with the characters, where some characters are for law and order, others are like, anarchy is where it's at because law and order hasn't gotten us anywhere. So, I mean, that's just where I stand.
Anyone else?
What do you think, James?
Well, for me, I think that as long as we, as long as the characters that we create have a reasonable tie to each other, they should be able to come from any type of background. One of the drivers in creating a good story is having protagonists who have a reason to want to cover each other's backsides. And if you don't have that, things kind of break down from there. My character has to care enough about your character that he's going to be willing to dramatically jump into a hail of gunfire to save him, or something to that effect. It may not be that.
Or at the very least, he's not going to push me into the gunfire.
Right, absolutely. Unless it's something that me and you have decided, okay, our guys hate each other, and they're actively trying to embarrass or out this or check for a secret that your character may have or something like that. But as far as where we come from, I think as long as we can tie together our backgrounds to make some sense, it really shouldn't matter, like DBJ said.
Yeah, I mean, we could be kind of not really in between the two areas, but I mean, if we were on the edge of a city, a major source, a major organized civilization kind of pocket, maybe depending on how we make our characters, some of us might do scouting runs out into the wilds, or vice versa. If we're in the wilds, maybe we do supply runs into the cities to steal things or something of that sort. I don't know. I think it's too much trouble to put that off until character creation, isn't it?
No, I mean, ultimately it may not matter, like you guys have been saying. But I was just curious, if you guys had a preference. And the only reason
the current issues and the impending issues, what I was thinking straight away, like current issue, since we are humans on planet Earth at the moment, our current issue is the kind of the divide between, like you said, the old guard and the awakened and the people that follow them in the wilds. So that's very much a current issue that we would have to be facing as a civilization anyway. And an impending issue to me would be the fact that we still have the Overwatchers on the moon, and we don't know what they're doing or what they're planning.
Okay, and say it again about the current. Say that again, please.
Current issue to me would be the fact that we're human beings. We're on Earth, and the biggest issue at the moment is very much kind of the divide in the human race. You know what I mean? Like we have the old guard walled up in their cities. You know what I mean? Hoarding their stuff and honing their their military objects and whatever. Preparing for whatever. Preparing for war, perhaps against the aliens, war against the awakened, war against everybody at the war against each other. That would be, to me, like a big current issue, a very human issue.
So being that that's an issue, that would imply that your characters have some sort of stake in that issue, meaning that either they're trying to mend the gap, the divide between the factions, or
they're on one side or the other.
Or they're all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what comes to my mind just from what we've created so far.
Okay.
And then the impending issue, again, like I said, is, current issue is kind of the fate of humanity. Impending issue then is the fate of the Earth. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we can manage to survive and not kill each other, what do we do then about the aliens that are still watching us from the moon?
Well, we know that.
One of the impending issues could be having to do with the awakening continuing and us not being able to understand it for what it is. Where are the awakened people? What's the end? What are they awakening or waking to? What are they evolving to? You
True.
know, we may not have that information. We may need to find the scientists who are in the ivory towers of the cities to help let us know, or we may need to try to find the information from alien databases or whatever.
But is the end game still the end game?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There could be a state of a strange state of status quo amongst, especially like the city states, where they've even though there may be a daily need to struggle, there's still this idea that that there's like they've gotten comfortable where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
and as player characters, we know that things are changing. They're the lifestyle that people live may change or may be destroyed, and so maybe the impending issues are that some of these city states and Old Guard, I mean, their life will just not just end, but they may have to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to be able to put up walls and just defend the walls with assault rifles and machine guns, that you're going to have to leave or move or something like that.
Their way of life will change, and they don't necessarily want that.
Right,
Okay.
right. Even though there may be a need to survive, they're like, hey, we're surviving this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's working well enough for us now. Let's not change it.
Got it.
So the people in the cities are basically they're vastly different from everyone else. I mean, they would look down on anyone who is not in a city or a protected area as a barbarian.
Well,
Is
possibly. I mean, some of them
Yeah.
may, some of them not. Some of them may feel sorry for. They may feel that the people that are in the outlands are need help.
But
you
they're
know?
not going to invite them into the city and utilize the resources of the
Why
city.
wouldn't some of them want to do that? Maybe some do. Maybe some don't. Maybe some city will. Maybe some of these bastions that are ruled by some of the old guard. Just like David was saying. They have their way of life. They're surviving. So why should they stick their necks out? But even so, there may be people that are living there underneath this rule that say, well, no, we should help those people out there. We should invite them in. We can be stronger if we invite those people in our ranks. You know what I mean?
But with it being kind of post-apocalyptic, I look at it kind of like Walking Dead almost, where resources are going to be scarce,
Right.
and the people that have the resources
Right.
are going to covet those resources so much more, so that if anyone outside of your immediate circle of people
Mm-hmm.
enters the scene, it's
Mhm.
like, hey, wait a minute, what does that guy want? What do you want? You're here for our resources. You want to take our women. You want to take our water and food, whatever the case it may be. So there may be a certain level of paranoia that the city people have, because remember, they have an infrastructure and they have resources and technology and everything else, and they may not want to share it with the unwashed masses.
And I understand that, and I guess
But-
the point I'm trying to make is that once, in my opinion, and I'll let you go, Ian. Hang on one second. And
That's
in
good, no
my
problem.
opinion, what I've seen, is that once people are in a situation where they get to the point where they have enough resources to become comfortable, to a certain degree, they're comfortable. They're not worrying where their next drink of water is going to come from necessarily, or their next meal is going to come from necessarily, because they're in this protected area. They've got all these resources and stuff. Then you have people that all of a sudden say, hey, some people may do this. I'm not saying everyone, but they may say, hey, I'm in a position where now my state of mind can go from scrounging from day to day, from meal to meal, from a drop of water to drop of water, to worrying about, well, what about what others that have less need? You know what I mean?
And that would be a certain of the cities may be enlightened that way towards
Right.
that
That's
more,
all I'm saying.
more socialistic bent,
Yeah.
and other may be at the extreme that if
Right. That's
you come near their city, you're getting shot.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to say is that while the people in the cities might have more access to technology and information and things of that sort, the people in the wilds are going to have more access to things like clean water and food. Um, you know, well, like naturally occurring food anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's I think it's all it's all variables regardless of where you're at, you know.
Hmm.
Since we're staying away from kind of ultimatums or to say that all of the civilized pockets are this way and all the wild areas are this way, there will be areas of gray and overlapping in between,
Sure.
which will make it interesting for you guys, you know. Um, so we're good with are we good with our current a couple of current issues, and we've got our impending issues. So are we good upon that, guys? We have any other suggestions, or are we good for now with that?
That's good.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're pretty good. I mean,
Okay.
like, you could add a current issue, maybe if depending on what city we want to be in, we could create more issues. Maybe the
Okay.
city we're in is running out of food, and so we have to make a deal with the
There you
unwashed
go.
masses that you mentioned earlier,
There you
and
go.
to try and implement them into our society and convince them that, hey, look, we're not so bad,
Okay.
or something along those lines. It's
And
just
Or shoot them and take their food.
that's
yeah,
another
well,
possibility.
Or
that's
declare war.
that will come up. You know, the characters will have to make those tough decisions, and that's the fun of it. Okay. All right. So then, faces and places. What do we got then? Um,
What do you
so
mean? Is
let's
that
see.
for like NPC type faces and places? Is
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
characters?
Yeah. Let's
So
see here.
the city, our city. What's the name of our city? What's a good name for a city?
Are we doing this? Is this Earth or is this something else?
This is the city that you just said that we could be in
Mm-hmm.
and set from our city to go to
Sure.
another city. So
And I mean, it could be a nickname or something. What the general populace may call it or refer it by, or uh, it could be, and this doesn't necessarily have to be, or we never. One thing is we never really have to say in the world where in the world this is. It just
Uh-huh.
is. So it could be
Cool.
anywhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be Jersey. It could be anywhere. You guys may, or we may never decide where it is. It's just a place, in the world. So, which may be interesting, in itself. Um, uh,
well,
So
taking a
obviously,
go ahead.
an important person, if it's going to be in the city, which we can name later, whatever, important face would be the mayor, wouldn't it? Or whoever's in
Yeah,
charge. It may not be the mayor per se, but
yeah, I was going to ask
maybe
that. Is that the what's the leader's title of the
maybe
city?
he's a king. Is he a duke? Is he a
Oh, so are they? Can't hear you. You muted
I was gonna say, in homage to Escape from New York, let's call him the Duke.
the dude. Can it be the
sounds good.
Duchess? Women are far more devious than men.
See, there you go. So, so now
Okay,
it's
the
the
Duchess.
Duchess. Yep, it's the Duchess. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So that's one of the names and issue or aspect of the Duchess.
Well, you said she's devious, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she has to be to balance all of the other factions in the city.
Okay.
Playing them, almost having to play them against each other, just to keep the status quo, to keep the city alive.
To keep her position, basically.
And also to keep herself in, yeah.
So now she's
She's a chess master,
what's her
basically.
name from the other Mad Max movie? Mama, mother. What's her name? I can't think of
My
her.
God, I can remember. It's been a long, long, long time.
Come on, David, help me out here, man. You know what I'm talking about, right?
And I'm good with this trivia too. Yeah, Tina Turner.
Tina Turner. Yeah, what was her name in the Mad Max movie?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, all right, okay. Okay.
We're on
Alright.
Google Hangouts and no one can Google it.
We're busy. We're doing something, man. So anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys know what I'm talking about. So we know that she's devious because she has to play the various factions against one another in order to let the to get the city to continue to work and do what it's supposed to do. Right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's see here.
Anti-entity.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
Christ, that's a hell of a name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Shit.
So, in keeping with the fact that our city is a fictitious city, not quite anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and like Hunger Games, they were districts, weren't they? District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So maybe the cities don't actually have names. Maybe there's some type of numeric designation
Okay.
Or nickname.
or a nickname. Yeah.
Something left over from a war, like whether they were started out as camps or bases or something of that nature. Camp, Safe Haven, Camp, Pendleton, Camp, North Star or something like that, and then the name's just stuck.
I like North Star.
Okay. All right, Camp North Star it is then. Sure. Okay.
And what is it about? What are some something about Camp North Star? Is it fortified? Does it have a strong army? Is it near water and has a navy? Does it have ships? Is it technologically advanced? Is it low on Can it be low on resources?
Well, we already know. We know that you
Yeah.
guys got initially sent out because they were running out of food. So
Yep.
we know the resources are
Food is
low.
running low.
Yeah.
Red Elf is about to die.
Right.
So I think it's probably pretty well populated then too, since food is an issue.
Okay.
Because if the population was sparse, food wouldn't be as much of an issue.
Okay.
So if and going by that logic, if it has a large population, it probably has a large militia as well.
Yeah. Well, let's say that. Hang on here. Let me
Sorry,
share
I'm
my.
moving too
Let me
fast.
let me share my screen so that they can see what I'm doing. Okay. We can say that one of the factions perhaps is a military faction or militarized faction, which she has to appease in some regards to get them to do what they're supposed to do.
Well, let's say the Duchess actually doesn't have control over the military. That's another person. And
Right.
that's one of the people that she has to fend off or do this political dance with so that it allows her to stay in power as well.
Okay, so who is this person?
He's going to be Commander who?
Commander who? Commander.
Well, you just want to call him the commander for right
The
now?
Commander, yeah.
Yeah, the commander works.
And he's an evil little man.
So that's one of his aspects, evil little man?
Okay. Napoleon complex.
Okay. And we have to come up with a better aspect for the Duchess later on because devious isn't. I mean, it's that's not a good aspect, but
Well, she could be a devious political mastermind.
there. Okay, so political
Political
mastermind.
mastermind, that works.
Okay, so political mastermind. That's better.
A devious political mastermind.
Do I want to say devious? Okay. Or does political mastermind? Yeah, I guess you can be.
Political mastermind kind of implies devious. If you ask me.
That's what I was wondering,
Maybe
but I
I'm
don't
just
know. Does it?
cynical.
Well, she could be a political mastermind because she's very charismatic, not necessarily because
Sneaky.
she's devious. Devious kind of lends itself that she will do things below board. She'll do whatever it takes
Right.
to kind of keep it.
Okay. Let's
That
see.
could be in. Do they only get one aspect?
No, they get it.
They can have.
So you could give her a political mastermind. You could give her another aspect to say she'll do whatever it takes.
Okay.
There you go.
Success at all costs or whatever.
I will not lose.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the commander? So we know he's an evil little man, and what else do we know about him?
Maybe he's very myopic, like it's might makes right.
Okay.
We need more people to be, pressed into the militia. We need to spend more resources gathering more weapons. We could.
What's a weapon monger, or what's a
Weapon.
A
Well,
warmonger?
how about the
Warmonger?
commander wants you?
the commander wants you? So
Yeah.
that implies he's always recruiting. He's
Yeah.
always okay. Is
He's
that
all
okay?
about keeping the
That-
military strong. Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. The commander wants you. Okay.
With the next
I
committee.
think also I don't think the commander is all evil. I think the commander has a certain, a misconstrued benevolence towards his people.
Well, remember, evil people don't think that they're evil.
Of course, exactly. So
Maybe he has the position of being, I want to be proactive than reactive. So
exactly.
he comes across as being, overbearing or even violent, but it's in his opinion, and the people that are loyal to him feel that if we don't take action, we're going to be victims.
And that's why just as the awakened are perceived in a general, way, he's perceived in a general way
Mhm.
as being.
He's the hammer, unfortunately. He's the guy
That's
that
right.
they have to go to.
I'm the hammer.
Knuckle someone into submission, and no one likes the hammer, but sometimes you have to break glass in case of emergency.
Okay, he's the hammer.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go. He's a hammer. So,
Excellent.
Okay. Which also lends itself to saying what his approach to
is a lot of things. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
This also just makes me think of someone probably exists that's kind of his opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of like I don't know, chancellor or something. Someone that controls the civic part of the city, meaning like resources, the education of the people, keeping the city clean, medicine, those kind of things.
So basically, someone who's his opposite, that handles the civic matters.
The humanitarian aspect of the place.
Right.
Maybe he's a doctor.
Doctor.
Okay.
Sure, we can just.
Okay. All right. So.
And the doctor knows more than he knows more than he lets on. So he's in the know somehow. He might have a database or access to some databases, or he may be shady. He may be a bad guy, but
regardless, he's in the know. So
right, he's in the know.
Okay, so what else? So that's one perceived aspect of him from the general populace. What else possibly can we get another aspect of the doctor? Since he's the commander's opposite, or she is the commander's opposite. What else do we kind of know about the doctor, generally speaking?
Maybe the doctor makes you find out that the commander isn't really the quote unquote evil one, but the doctor is, meaning like, maybe knows that the population can only get so big and allows some of them to die off, or
so the doctor is very clinical in a sense, or
it could come across that way.
What's a good way to phrase that?
The needs of the many outweigh the few? No.
Yes.
You think so? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to do it that way?
Because that allows for a great deal of gray play, because sometimes you have to make decisions that aren't good because the many have to be supported and the few may have to
suffer for it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we have the Duchess, we have the commander, and we have the doctor. So that's one quote unquote neutral party, so to speak, but not really. And we have one militaristic individual and one individual that supposedly is looking after the needs of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So is that good enough for the major okay, well here, how about, is there a major player that's out in the outlands and the wilds
I
that
was
you
just going to
guys.
say,
What'd you say,
we
Ian?
should maybe establish an awakened leader, as it were.
There you go. Right.
And
Yes.
what about the Outlands as a place as well?
Well, okay, we'll get to that. Yeah. So let's get a leader, and then we'll do the lands. So because we haven't done any places, so we need. Well, we did. Well, we still have to do Camp North Star too. We still need to do that before we. Let's do that before we go into the Outlands.
Okay.
So what do we know about Camp North Star? What kind of place is it?
Well, we know that food is running low.
Okay.
Mhm. Overpopulated.
So it's overpopulated. Okay. No room to breathe. How about that?
Sure.
Okay. What else do we know about it? We know that it's running out of, or does that? Okay. Does that imply that it's running low on stuff if there's no room to breathe because there's so many people?
I
Or
think
do
it's probably pretty dirty since it's if food and water are an issue,
Mhm.
bathing is probably rationed and things of that sort.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be able to just take clean water and wash yourself.
Okay.
And
So.
one of the reasons that the doctor is in the know
Mhm.
is because there are cameras everywhere.
Ah. Okay.
Ooh. Surveyed or surveyed? What do you call that?
Huh?
Big Brother?
Big Brother, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So should I just go ahead and say Big Brother's watching and leave it at that?
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Any other
Maybe
aspect of? Oh, go ahead, Dave.
the city is run in such a way that every resident is expected to, pitch in support in some kind of way, whether it's, fixing something or, teaching kids or,
Okay.
finding machine parts or something like that. But there's an underlying paranoia. People know things are wrong. Maybe, they knew last season it was water, and another season before that it was, getting medical supplies or something. And now, of course, now there's like a food issue, and the people whisper amongst themselves, but they're still expected to maintain their schedules and be in their proper places. So it's
So
more or less like
know your role and know your place.
right.
Yeah, maybe it's become kind of communistic to a sense, and people are being born into their jobs instead of getting to choose what they want to do with their lives.
Ah, okay.
They're
So
kind of forced
it's a caste system or a.
for the betterment of society. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if everybody wanted to be a doctor, nobody would be there to, till the fields per se. Not necessarily to this urban setting, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What do you call it? You're born into your profession. in a
Yeah.
sense. Okay.
But is that like a caste system?
I thought so, but I'm not
That's
sure.
That's what a caste system is, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, lights just flashed. Hopefully, don't lose the hangout. if I drop out, you guys know why. Okay. And then now let's go to the we'll call them the Outlands, unless you guys have a better term. Uh, let's think about some aspects about what type of place in general the Outlands are, and I'll be right back while you guys kind of think about that. So I'll be right back.
What kind of apocalypse was it? Do we want to say there's radiation issues or no? If there were radiation issues, they'd probably be worse in the cities, wouldn't they, than they would be in the outlands?
Yeah. It's probably just something like very chaotic banditry,
Mm-hmm.
what do you call the booster gangs? Or the guys, they ride around on their trucks and motorcycles and things like that.
I'd say everything is really overgrown.
Oh, wow.
Because things aren't cultivated anymore as much as they used to be. There's no landscapers.
The wilds.
See, I was going to ask about that because on one hand, a lot of times, I mean, just visually, I picture just picture Mad Max Road Warrior where everything's like kind of rust and dust. But if you watch Life After People, it's the opposite. Where things are overgrown. That
Well, it depends on where you are too. I mean, if you are in like a deserty area,
Sure.
We're not going to get an overgrowth, but if you're in, say, Florida, Florida may be half underwater.
Hmm.
Who knows?
Do you guys? I'm going back to video games again, but it's just a media that I've done a lot of. What was that game called? It was called Odyssey to the West or something. I can't remember the overall name. Enslaved. Did anybody play Enslaved?
Mm.
No.
No. That had this really kind of. It was. I think it was meant to be the United States of America anyway. But yeah, like the cities were all overgrown. The ruined cities anyway were all overgrown with trees and plant life that had consumed all these huge buildings, and there was wreckage and stuff too in the wilds, that everything was so covered in like ivy and vines and
And there's probably a lot of stuff out there that could be salvaged. So
yeah.
there may be like diamonds in the rough as an aspect of the Outlands that if you
Hmm.
look and you seek, there's a chance that you might be able to find some valuable stuff.
Sure. Even just in the forms of metals and um, what's what I'm looking for? Materials for building and
Yeah, and even like you said earlier, food and water.
of course, yeah.
People are making the processed stuff, but you know, for some reason, I guess our city may not be able to do it anymore. Maybe
Well,
what? Huh?
maybe people are getting sick and malnutritioned from all the processed crap that they've been eating for
And
the
they need
last however long
real
it's been.
food. Yeah,
Hmm. If you think it kind of mirrors what's going on in our own society with our
oh,
fast
yeah,
food culture and everything.
absolutely. And then, I mean, the Duchess and the commander and the doctor or whomever could send us out to the next city
Hmm.
as an envoy and try to convince them who, the other city may have better, whatchamacallit, natural resources to get, normal food or,
Yeah,
even make it so that their processed food is not as processed as our food would be.
maybe the next city is like a port city or something, so they'd have access to
Oh,
more water and
water.
fish and things of that sort.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you guys come up with?
Uh,
Nothing.
I'm gonna say for the Outlands,
Hmm.
one of the uh, one of the aspects will be diamond in the rough, basically signifying that there's a lot of valuable stuff that would be out in the Outlands if you know how to find it. If you could survive the gangs and the raiders and things like that,
Okay.
and wild animals that are out there. As far as building materials, metals, things that may have been left from who knows when.
All right. And then you got it. Did you guys have another one? Anything else in general about the Outlands? The diamond in the rough is that's fine. Is it inherently?
I know you don't like my aspects.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
That's fine. Yeah.
David thinks
Um,
my aspects are usually too flowery, too wordy.
as long as everyone that's the thing about aspects, which we can speak about now. As long as you guys and everyone agrees and understands what the aspects mean, that's all that matters. And it's good because I already can see that how diamond in the rough can imply a positive thing, but it also can imply something negative or add a
Yeah,
complication. So
it's a
I'm
diamond, but it's still in the rough.
Right?
right.
In
I'm
the
good
rough.
with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. That's fine. I just wanted to try to get a minimum of two aspects, out of
Hmm.
each thing. That's all. Um, and since diamond in the rough initially implies something that's ultimately good, can we get an aspect that maybe, tends towards maybe more the negativity of the Outlands or how they're dangerous or unstable or,
Well,
you
like
know,
you said, something about just like there could be a lot of banditry and stuff of that going on. A lot of opportunists, perhaps, that live in the wilds.
uh,
Hey, how about animals are awakened too? So some of the
Ooh.
experiments that were done
mhm,
to, you do the animal portion, the animal testing portion.
mhm,
So they may have during an attack a lot of them may have been released into the wild. So now animals are very adaptable and they breed and crossbreed. So now you may have a number of awakened animal types in the outlands.
Okay, so what would be a good? How would you describe that? It wouldn't be unknown threats because you know what the threats are.
Well,
Uh,
you know the overall threat, but you might not know what each individual threat is.
yeah.
Just
Um,
imagine getting attacked by a pissed off, raging telekinetic deer.
right.
You didn't see that one coming.
Right. No.
Like, I thought I was hunting
To,
you, but you're hunting me.
to link the wild animals to the idea of the awakened, maybe the animals have advanced to the next level of evolution
hmm
faster, and in a way that's almost like the hint as to what's going to happen to humanity. We're just far too scared and far more victim to it. So you've got like you had saber-toothed tigers, you have real tigers, and then you have whatever exists now. You've got like you know mega,
Pyrokinetic tigers.
there where you've got like not necessarily giant versions of them, of like
hmm
spiders or bats or something, but you could
Yeah.
have something like like you said, they could be hybrids where you've got you know bats that can create webs and encircle PCs or something like that, and we're
Wow.
just like, what the heck is that? But
Right. Right.
it could just be the next step of evolution. So it's just looking at animal plus.
Uh,
What if the
evolution. Uh-huh.
awakening of the animals has given them a higher intelligence as well?
Wow. Okay.
Well, we can just, can you just do the one? Can you just
Well, I'm
handle
trying
it?
to get something that kind of implies all of that. That's what I would like. I wrote down hunter becomes the hunted, which could mean a lot of different things. Um, you guys keep mentioning like evolution and stuff like that, so that's kind of a key word. Uh,
What's the term? Darwinism, but I'm trying to think of something
chaotic
more.
Darwinism, or
Darwinism gone wrong? Accelerated Darwinism? Awakened?
it's just got to be something that we all when I say that or when that comes up, you guys all know what I mean. It can't be like,
Awakened
what are you talking
Darwinism?
about? Huh?
Yes.
Awakened Darwinism?
If you guys are good with that, that's fine. Yep, that's fine with me. You guys kind of does that instill?
What about just survival of the fittest?
I mean
Yeah.
that could mean all of this.
That works for me for the
That's pretty
Outlands
broad,
as a
and
whole.
that's got positive and negative
Okay,
aspects as well to it. So
okay, there you go.
it is survival of the fittest. So survival is a positive thing, but are you the fittest?
All right.
That's the
Okay.
next question.
I
Okay.
want to add another thing because I
Mhm.
love bizarre environments,
Mhm.
and not that the actual environment has to be changed or something, but how about like I like the idea of like you know skyscrapers overgrown with jungle growth, and then there's like a giant waterfall coming out of the side of it or something, and then you see city streets and cars and things, and then there's like a tree growing right out of the top of like a school bus or something, and you know just this coming from a game master standpoint, it's a great opportunity for lots of stealth rolls, climbing, opening things and slipping in and going underground and climbing above to see bandits coming down the middle of the avenue or something like that. So not sure how that would fit in, but I like
Well,
the
it's like
idea of exploring
Actually,
and using the environment.
I have a name for an aspect that could tie to.
okay.
Just reclaimed by nature.
There you go. I was thinking nature. I just didn't. Okay, there you go. There you
So
go.
you have all these constructs of previous humanity,
Yep.
and now everything has been reclaimed by the
There you
natural
go.
world that's growing back around it.
What's
Or
what would something be called that was well unnatural is what it would be. Okay, so reclaimed by nature. Okay, that's good. All right, got it. Okay, so those are the Outlands. We've got at least a good three aspects, and those are just the general aspects of the Outlands. Of course, the characters as we would zoom in and find them in various portions of the Outlands, other aspects would come into play. And if they were in one of those skyscrapers that had uh, teetered and cracked off, at the top, and was still overgrown with all this overgrowth and everything, there would be specific aspects that would come into play then as well.
Sure,
So
situational aspects and
yeah,
stuff, right?
situational. Yep. Okay, so now what about the some of the or a heavy hitter of the Outland that will be either someone you guys would basically someone you guys would want to encounter, because if it's nothing you want to encounter, we're not going to talk about it.
What's the point of it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
The boogeyman, as it were,
exactly.
the awakened chief who's out there.
So we know it's an awakened leader of some sort or chief. Yeah.
I had an idea earlier and I forgot what it was now. Before we got into the places, I was thinking of this guy.
Is he brutal, or he or she brutal, or are they? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys? What interests you guys? Because I know what interests me, but what interests you guys?
I was thinking more like a black marketeer. Like, instead of someone who's like kind of mindless and roves around and just wants to cause havoc, just thinking someone a little more methodical. I mean, still dangerous, but very much like what can you do for me? What if you don't offer me, if you're not offering me something of value, then you're useless to this group or this. He's willing, and he may buy or trade or sell anything. Anything illegal, legal. Has machines, has weapons, has food, and has no problem just going, oh, well, I guess you don't have anything of value, your people are going to starve, see you later. And then, we'll drive off. We'll definitely pillage innocent groups of people traveling through the land to take their stuff.
And unfortunately, in dealing with him, he could read minds and has telepathy, so he's a very difficult person to take by surprise or to basically lie to, because he can just climb into your mind and know what you're thinking.
Okay, see, all right, so here's what I got. I got one of his aspects is what can you do for me? Another one I got out of there is I got what you need. He's stone cold, and I know what you're thinking.
Used to be a car salesman.
There you go. In the previous, yeah, okay.
No, I don't know.
He could have a background at that. You never know. Just because someone used to be a used car salesman and all of a sudden they found themselves in this position, that's funny. That gives him an aspect of humanity. Like, hey, wait a minute, you just used to be a regular guy,
Yep.
Before the fall.
Maybe he's so hard to kill just because it's almost like he can predict what you're going to do. He's like, I know you're about to pull a knife on me, so or spies in his own group. He's always able to find spies, and no one's ever been able to figure out how he's able to find spies. And then we find that spy, drawn and quartered in the middle of the desert or something, or stapled to a tree and that kind of thing.
And he may never, excuse me, he may never really allude to the fact that he has psionic powers or telepathy or empathy or whatever it is that he has. He may just use the advantage created by it to make it seem like he's just exceptionally intuitive, or he has spies. He may use that to play up his position that, I've got people everywhere watching you, when in fact he just read your mind to know that, you have a holdout pistol in your sock or whatever.
Okay, no, that works. Okay.
What aspects did you write down for this guy so far, then?
I've got a ton of them. I've got what can you do for me?
Uh-huh.
I've got what you need. Because I was thinking I've got what you want, but it would be better I've got what you really, I've got what you need.
Mhm.
Stone Cold was one. Another one was I know what you're thinking, which implies all the stuff you guys were talking about is, oh, can he really read minds? I don't know. He always knows what you're thinking. And then Hard to Kill.
Cool.
So he's a tough dude.
He sounds like someone that, would be an interesting person to meet in the game, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not.
I'm not saying necessarily that I'd want to meet him, but
Right.
But
Okay.
considering he has what we need, maybe he's the
We're gonna
person
have
that we need to go to
Exactly.
get the water, or
Exactly.
a la Fallout, he knows where the water purification chip is,
Mhm.
and can send us to the water plant that's miles and miles away, which will be a permanent source of water, or a large source of water for our city.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, we're running over, but that's okay because we're getting there. All right. Let's see. So those are our faces and our places that
Mary, you want me
we
to pull the
needed
thing back up?
for now, huh?
You want me to pull back up that game?
Nah, you
Oh,
don't
game
have to.
creation,
Oh, it's up
huh?
to you. You can if you want. Yeah. Okay.
So after that, then there's dials, skills, stunts, and extras.
Yeah.
Dials looks like what? Just like your settings for the game.
Yeah, it's just what you want the player characters to go with, and we'll just say that we'll go with everything in the default.
Okay,
Yeah, just to make it simple, so
sounds good.
we don't have to fool with that.
That's a good idea. So then what's skills for? Is that where you just set up some basic skills for the setting, or?
Well, depending upon the skill method you use, I guess either the pyramid or the column, then you would pretty much determine that, and then
I don't know what that means.
The
Pyramid.
actual skills.
yeah.
Well, yeah, the actual skills. Okay, so in Fate, everything is set up in either a column fashion or a pyramid fashion. So basically, you have what's called in a pyramid your apex skill. So say your guy is a used car salesman, right? We're
Okay.
going with DBJ. So his apex skill may be deceive. So if you go with the pyramid, his deceive skill would be at +4 because that's the maximum. So you get one skill at +4, two skills at +3, three skills at +2, four
Okay.
skills at +1.
Right.
So that's what that says. Otherwise, you can do a column, and you can have a one column approach, straight up and down, two column approach, or something like that.
Okay, I gotcha.
We're
And
gonna
then
do
and then for the skills, generally you're using the skills that are in the basic book, but
Yeah.
sometimes you may have extra skills that you want to add that aren't in the book, and those would be there. So say you have you want to divorce engineering from craft, or you want to change it, so that's where you note it there. We have a psionic skill or a sensitivity skill in here, so then you put it there so all the players know that that's a possible skill that they may need to take.
Gotcha. Okay.
which opens up a whole nother thing, but we'll get to that because we would also have to determine what the psionic skill means, or it could be a stunt. We have to figure out what we want to do with it. That's another thing, But I don't know if we want to do all that at this moment. We could just start with the basics of character creation, and then we could approach that another time.
Okay.
So I guess the first thing would be is to basically you guys would need to have a high concept for your character, and then basically a trouble. And I guess, well, for me, and you guys, jump in, but the easiest way to go about that was pretty much just to talk about your character, just describe what he or she is and what he or she does, and usually aspects kind of come out of that, usually, but that's if you have a fairly strong idea of what your character or who your character is. Sometimes players aren't really sure, they need to dial it in more. But that's the whole reason to talk about the character, in your mind, and kind of, figure out what that character's about. So, does anyone have an idea for a character, possibly? And this doesn't have to be, and just I would like to play this game, but we can just give some examples. That's all we're trying to do.
Okay, so at a high level,
don't feel locked in, is what I'm saying.
My character's name is Laszlo.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's his first or his last name,
Okay.
but he is a young military officer who graduated from military academy somewhere. I guess it'll be big city, maybe our city.
Okay.
And he's very he's awakened to the point where he has exceptional strategic and tactical awareness. So if you can kind of think about the Sherlock Holmes movies where things just sort of kind of move around and light up in a tactical manner, that's how his awakening has taken place. And he didn't, well, I don't know if he knew or if he didn't know. I'm still kind of fuzzy on were we experiments or accidents.
Why can't it be both? The experiment turned out to be, it didn't have the results that they wanted, so it's an accident,
Well, the shame that he has is the fact that during a training mission, he was responsible for an accident that killed a number of his cadets with him, his fellow cadets, and he was in charge, and one of his friends actually took the fall for him.
Okay.
And got booted from the military academy and got put in jail. Unfortunately, that guy is out. Mm-hmm. And now he has some extortion on his mind. He believes that he should be paid for the years that he languished in prison, covering for Laszlo's.
Well, it couldn't be that many because Laszlo's pretty young, right?
Well, maybe 25 or so.
Okay.
So
well, we don't know. Maybe they got all of them really young.
Right. Assuming that. Yeah, like Ender. All right. So assuming that maybe the guy was in jail for 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that's long.
And so now he would be pissed.
Okay.
And he would be a ready-made plot element to push me in whatever direction or to do things that I may not want to do because right now I can't afford to lose everything, because if it came out that I was actually the person and that I lied, my commission would get taken away, I'd lose my job, I'd probably end up going to jail myself.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to be as valuable to the establishment as possible. Mm-hmm.
So that in the event that anything does go pear-shaped, I have some chips on my side with maybe the commander or, my immediate supervisors or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about the high concept.
Well, hold on. Yeah, that's good. I was taking notes. So we know he's a young military officer. Okay. We know that he's an awakened military officer. We know that he has strategic awareness. We know that he has a fall guy friend with the friend in apostrophes. We know that possibly this friend is, or he may have friends in high places possibly. And we know that he's eager to please. So that's all I got out of that. Highlights I got out of that, I should say. That's not all I got out of it, but those are some highlights.
Okay.
Did you guys hear anything else in his story that stuck out? Or would you guys like to maybe give him some suggestions from what you heard, which is a better question? and there is no stepping on toes. So whatever pops in your head may, it may spark something else. So we know we've got this young military officer who he realizes he's awakened, right, Jim?
Actually, he may not. He
Okay,
may
so
not know. He may just think that,
he's good at what he does,
I'm
right?
exceptional at what I do.
Okay, which seems to be a reoccurring thing that we're seeing, everyone or a lot of people that are awakened don't really realize it. They think it's just natural talent, they think they're just better at what they do. They found, what they're good at. Um, so,
And he's a very good charismatic leader. He's a very good officer as far as that's concerned. Uh, as far as strategy and tactics and leadership, he's great. But it appears that his moral integrity may not be as great if he's willing to let that go.
right.
So he has basically the sword of Damocles over his head with his quote unquote friend willing to drop a dime on him, unless he does X, unless he does Y, unless he does Z. And anyone who's seen a movie where someone is getting blackmailed or extorted, that never goes well. And, it's like, okay, I did this for you. Then the guy says, no, 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 one more thing. And then it's like, and then you do one more thing. No, 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 one more thing.
It never ends.
And it never
Right,
ends.
right. Okay, so well, see that I would think would really want to tie into his trouble in some sense, Well, okay. The major complication in his life is that, and I want to get this out of the way because I have an idea for a high concept, but I don't know if it's really that good yet, and it hasn't popped in your head yet, Jim. So I don't want to. I don't know. We know ultimately that he's a military officer, but it's like, okay, well, what else about him makes him stand out as a military officer? Is it because of his strategic, abilities? Is that what makes him a model officer? Is it because he's very personable or knows the ins and outs of the military that makes him an exceptional military officer?
Well, I don't think that he knows the ins and outs. I think that people have a tendency to listen to him when they are in situations regarding tactics and or strategy.
So it's not that he's a charismatic military officer. It's that he's
a good tactical. He's Patton. He's a guy that you'll listen to on the battlefield, but then once you get out of that setting, you realize that.
So what would you call someone who had a military mind or a strategic mind or a chess-like mind? That's kind of where we're going with this that I see. Yeah, that's kind of tough. So I'm gonna write this down.
It's like a master strategist or.
Yeah, but strategic military officer is kind of bland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing that down, but that's bland. For a high aspect, it's kind of bland.
Hold on, I think of something.
Well, we'll keep going, because that's what it's all about.
So I can step back and then let you guys.
Well, hold on, wait a minute, because we're gonna try to see if we can kind of at least get near your trouble, and then that'll be a start for that guy. So, like I was saying before, it seems like the highest on his list of issues or complications is the fact that he's got this friend of his that is obviously out of prison now, right?
Yes.
And is still threatening to out him for what happened, right?
Yes.
So in order to keep his friend quiet, what has he been doing?
He's been doing whatever his friend has been asking him to do.
Which is what?
Be that, make a crate of weapons disappear,
wow.
give move food, set him up with some military uh, living quarters, perhaps. Running messages out into the wilds to our antagonist, perhaps, or our antagonist's people.
So he has ultimately been a black market.
He's been compromised. Compromised by the black market, compromised by whatever this guy's name is.
Okay. Well, basically, he's in cahoots with the black market, is what it is, one way or the other.
He's not in cahoots. He's
helping them out.
Well, he's being forced to do so.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how it's being done. It's the fact that it's being done, ultimately.
Being in cahoots means that you're complicit. Well, I guess he is.
Does
complicit.
it? Well, yeah, he's doing it. But I got that. I got black market. Yeah, I got black market compromised, and then I'll put in cahoots too in here, just to have it in here.
For high concept, I don't know. Like, I have a lot of experience with this, but what about like a shrewd operator or a judicious tactician?
Judicious tactician.
You like that?
Yeah. I'm writing it down just in case.
I like the
tactician.
Strategist that you said before.
Tactician.
Actually, I do like tactician better than strategist.
Yeah, I'm just using thesaurus to look up different. Straight up, like.
No, that's good. Yeah, I've done that.
I looked up strategist, and the first synonym that came up was shrewd operator. I looked up shrewd, and I found judicious, and then I was thinking strategist could be a tactician or a.
Well, is he a judicious military officer? Is that does that encompass not only his tactical aspect, but his also possibly his the way he approaches things?
Well, obviously, being a military officer is important to him.
Right.
Otherwise, he wouldn't go through all of the hullabaloo to cover up things. So, I just need to figure out a wording for that. I'll work on that.
So I'll put judicious. I'll put judicious military officer on here. Just
that'll work.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Okay. And then we've narrowed down his trouble, but we're still trying to get that more fluid.
Yeah, we're in the ballpark though.
Yeah, we are in the ballpark. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Okay. All right. So who wants to give it a shot next? Ian or David?
I've already got a lot of stuff kind of down on mine already.
Okay. All right. Okay, go for it.
Hold on a second. I'll screen share because I'm doing this. This is fillable.
Oh, okay.
So let me pop on that real quick, and I can just show you what I've done. Okay, there you can see it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hang on. There it goes. Yep.
Okay.
There it goes.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So Specs. Okay.
Specs is his name. He wears glasses.
Yep.
He's a bit of a a nerdy type. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to change the text size on this computer. So
that's all right. Full of tools and workstation.
His description.
Okay.
Specs. Jesus Christ, it's taking forever. Okay, he's the son of an engineer. He's the son of an engineer. His father's an engineer. Remember, we're talking about the Cass Lake Society. So his father's an engineer, probably pretty important in an important position in the city. Specs grew up around an encyclopedic collection of technical manuals, a house full of tools, and I think I said, and surrounded by and specialists of all kinds. So he grew up around all these tech manuals, workstations, tools, and people that specialize in all different kinds of like technological stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my high concept for him, he's a grease monkey tech junkie.
Okay.
Trouble for him, I just put curiosity killed the cat.
That implies a lot. Okay.
I know I need to come up with more aspects than that, but those are the.
That's fine. Yeah, we just want those two for now. Yeah.
And then stunts, I decided just to give it a shot. I don't know if this will work.
Well, you want to look at his skills.
Yeah.
First. Yeah.
Right.
and then because the skills have specific stunts tied to them.
Oh, do they? I didn't know those
Yes,
stunts
that's
were.
yeah. So you jump the gun, but I do know by looking at those stunts kind of what you're looking for. So that's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
You can leave those, yeah, leave those as they are. It's not a problem.
Cool.
So, we'll let's go. Let's try to get the high concept and the trouble down, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can we'll actually, because we're going into 2 hours, we'll stop it there after David, and then what we'll do is if you guys want, we can come back and fill in the rest of the blanks, after we do that, if people are
Yeah.
interested in that too, because that's part of it too. Okay.
Okay.
Is that fine? Okay. All right. So David, you have an idea of your
Yeah.
character concept? Okay.
Yes. Was thinking of a concept of a person who lived in the wild, was a young man, lived in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
and was accepted into the city. His mom, dad, and maybe some other nomads, villagers, were able to make their way into the city, and was accepted into the city. And so
Okay.
now he's a minor politician of sorts. His name is Gideon, and
Okay.
he he remembers the days where he used to in his eyes it was fun being in the outback,
Mm-hmm.
hanging in the trees and trying to capture rabbits in the brush and things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really see the hardship that the struggle that others find, so he doesn't really have the fear of the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And but right now, he feels a dedication to family, and they want to make a place in the city. So right now he dresses nice, and he's a community leader, would be a better term than politician.
Okay.
Members of the community come to him with problems. We need cleaner water. We need more books, things of that nature. And then he's the like an alderman or something,
Okay.
community leader,
Okay.
and he speaks for the population. He's more socially integrated into the community. He doesn't he doesn't hold a position where he's above everyone.
Mm-hmm.
He walks the streets. People come up to him. His family is grooming him for a higher position, like moving from alderman to mayor of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
and he's torn between duty to the family and not wanting to have that responsibility of being a community leader, because he loves it. He doesn't want. He feels like it's a disservice not to go higher than his
Mm-hmm.
station.
That's what's expected of him. So he feels, yeah.
Because he's actually pretty comfortable where he's at. And he does many things, like he organizes to keep people from being keep people from being depressed. Like he very much organizes plays and music and puppet shows and things of that nature. And his opponents think that it's just it's like bread and circuses. Like you're just all you're doing is just doing parlor tricks to keep people happy. But he knows how valuable it is for people to read, for people to express themselves, and things of that nature. So I want him to be more social, and he seems to be. I was trying to think of something that would link him. I don't know what you call, like, with his awakening. So I'm thinking more or less something empathic.
Okay, yeah. He can, yeah. Yep, he's empathetic.
So,
Okay.
there may be someone in the community that's troubled, and he kind of latches onto them and wants to find out what's going on. Or he knows that maybe there's some kids that are doing something illegal, and he knows that they're hiding something. He has no idea what, and he latches onto them and follows them around. Mid 20s is probably a good age for him, and there may be a chance that he still has some connections to people outside of the community, outside the city, and would be torn between wanting to run with them and stay in the city. So,
Okay.
but at this point, he's cleaned himself up as much as possible, supporting his small community. Maybe it could be maybe just 50 people, and working to get a higher station in life. So that's as far as I've gotten as far as a
No, that's plenty of ammo. So and just so you guys know, I'm kind of leaning, and we'll go into the details of this at some future time. But instead of having the I'll call it the awakened power being a skill, I think I'm going to make it a stunt. So it's something that is outside of your skill set, and because with Jim's character, his strategic awareness seems like that's going to be his awakened power. With Ian's character, the tech, his ability to manipulate and create and do all kinds of things with tech, that seems that's going to be his awakened power. Right. With David, it looks like his character Gideon, his empathy, a way to either manipulate or see or read empathetic. You guys know what I'm saying.
Empathetic impressions.
That's going to be his power. It seems like so that I think I'm going to go that route. But anyway, so some of the highlights I saw were that he was an outlander that was accepted by the civies, the civilized folk. In some situations or in some sense, he is a family man. He's a community leader. He's a problem solver. He's a man of the people. He's being groomed for success. And it seems like possibly his trouble, the thing that may be causing him the most complications at the moment, is the question of duty or freedom.
Yes, very much so.
Does that sound okay? So
who was grooming him for success?
He didn't hear you, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who was grooming Gideon for success?
I would say the community that he was born and raised with in the Outback, that was accepted into the city. In his mind, he feels that if he doesn't lead the community, that he would be turning his back on them. Because they did so much to earn the trust of the city and work their way into it, that he feels like he needs to give back.
So he has a duty and obligation.
Right. Whether it's true or not, it's in his mind. So yeah, he has an obligation to, be thankful that he's in this city for good or bad.
Let me ask you guys this: would it or does it make sense? Or let me run this by you guys. Is what I'm trying to say. How about as part of your high concept, we use your awakened ability? So, like for Gideon, and this is just throwing out an example, David. He's an empathetic problem solver. So
Okay.
therefore, you see what his awakened ability is, and then if you push to the side the awakened ability, you see what he is as a normal person, so to speak. So for Specs, his awakened ability is what, Ian? Is it what is it that he can do? Is it that he can build things from nothing, or what? Yeah, can you explain that?
I think he has an uncanny communication with machines. They talk to him. More so they talk to him rather than he talks to them, but he can understand them because he can literally almost hear their language and understand what they're telling, what's wrong with them, or whatever else,
So he could, and this is the GM in me for Fate. It sounds like you would be able to make rapport and deceive rolls against machines and things like that, as opposed to having to program them or craft, use craft like that. So you could talk to a computer and say, hey, come on, give me the locked files.
Come on, give me access.
Right, and then.
So what kind of so we know he's a tech junkie anyway.
Yeah.
So how would you describe that power? How that's something we wanna think about.
Technokinesis.
Technokinesis?
Technopathy.
That sounds more.
That sounds better, right?
Technopathic.
Moving things around.
So he's a
Let's call it a technopathic grease monkey.
Pathic grease monkey. Yes, there you go. Yep, there you go. Okay,
Perfect.
that's his high concept. Okay?
I like it.
And David, like I said, we have the empathetic, but I don't know what you want to. That sounds good for Gideon's, his other half. Is he more community leader? Is he problem solver? What we still have to kind of dial in what describes him, as what he does, of all those things, family man, community leader, problem solver, man of the people, ex-outlander, you know what I mean? So go ahead. Okay.
Empathic diplomat.
Diplomat? Okay, so ultimately he is a diplomat. He fixes things. He solves problems.
Right.
That's fine. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right, and Jim.
Yes.
So we know that he's a military officer.
He's a
What's his awakened ability really?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
He is.
Is he analyzing?
Hyper-analyzing, hyper-tactically aware. That's my process. I talk things out. So
No,
everything that comes out is not going to be good. But
no, man. That's fine. I'm just trying to see how many words you're gonna put together for. That's what I was laughing about.
And
well, hyper sounds good.
Hyper-tactical.
Military.
Hyper-tactically aware.
Wow. Tactical awareness.
Not tactically aware military officer. Tactically aware, strategically aware, strategist. Aware needs to go in there.
Does it?
Yeah,
It
because
does? Okay.
that would denote him from just being a regular strategic guy or a regular tactical guy. If I say, well, he's a tactically minded military officer, that doesn't distinguish him as being awakened. That just means that he's tactically aware. And
I mean, that's a good point because Ian's technopathic is not,
it's special.
Yeah.
It's juiced up.
Gideon is empathetic, but we haven't said how empathetic he is. So that's a good point. Okay. I'll put a question mark by empathetic, David.
So that's why I'm trying to use charged words to make it, over the top.
Is he clairvoyant?
He is a
precognitive?
No, it's more of a very quick analysis when it's in regards to tactics.
Well, that's the hyper part.
Or strategy is the long term, tactics is the short term. The strategic would be basically putting what it all boils down to is patterns.
Spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness?
Well, I mean, spatial awareness, I would think would be a part of it, but not just.
We just need to find a cool word to encompass this. Is what we need.
Yeah, just use
hyper-tactical.
Hyper-tactically aware for now.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can find something somewhere else, and that might be a little bit more descriptive.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, and then everybody, we're going with empathetic, but we need to find something a little snazzier for Dave too. So, but that's fine. That's what I'm writing in. So we got.
But see, if you say empathic,
That's different. Yeah, that's true.
Empathetic. Empathic implies that you have a power of
There you
empathy,
go.
and
There
you're
you go.
not just using your normal.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And it doesn't have the word pathetic in it.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound right.
doesn't sound right. Empathic. Okay.
Empathic, yeah.
So basically,
I don't want everything to be hyper.
right?
Hyper
We've
empathy.
got a techie, we've
Uh,
got a fighter
okay.
type, and we've got a face.
Well, we didn't say he was a fighter. We said he was a tactician.
Well, I
Not
mean,
the same thing.
I would hope that if he's
Okay.
in the military, he knows how to fight to some
Right,
extent.
right, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. All right. Well, I'm going to end the what am I doing? I am
And then
sharing this. Yeah, right, the broadcast. Thank you. With that right now. So, hope everybody that watches, you got to understand this. We didn't throw around a lot of fate terms and everything like last night. But in closing, I would just like to say that this could be used for any type of game. You know, we didn't do anything that it was system,
Specific.
specific. Thank you. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, we didn't use anything that was system specific that would cause anyone to not be able to use this for 5e or any other D20 derivative or mutants and mastermind. Whatever. You could do this with any gaming system. And I just wanted to kind of give everyone out there a viewpoint of how doing this cooperatively with the GM and the players, you guys could see how by bouncing ideas off of each other, how we were able to come up with a campaign idea, a story arc, short-term and long-term. We came up with the area that the players or characters would be in. Their amusement park is there. There are a lot of things from a metagame perspective that the players know, but because these guys are good role players, they'll be able to enjoy their characters not knowing every nuance and everything of the backstory. But then there's plenty of holes in there that will allow me to fill in the gaps, and throw other twists and turns at them to keep things interesting in that sense as well. So this was just an example. We did run over a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if I can get these guys back, we'll do one more sometime in the future to flesh out the rest of the characters. And then hopefully beyond that, I can get them to do maybe a 1 or 2 shot story arc of this just to see how it goes. So thanks for
It's a long
watching.
way from post-apocalyptic, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, can I add my 2 cents in?
Sure. Go ahead, Dave.
I've never played Fate. I don't have the game, and I've never read the rules.
Okay,
So
see.
this is actually my very first experience even seeing the character sheet. So so I came at this being a complete noob.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And, it's cool. I
Okay.
think I'm gonna like the game.
Rules
right.
can be downloaded at
You can get the rules for
evilhead.com. Free, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Don't go anywhere, guys. Hang on.